outstanding companies and speakers. Maybe a quick 2-second intro on each of you. Rena, if we could start with you, please.
Hey everyone, my name is Rena Shah. I'm the COO of Leather Wallet. We are Stacks and Bitcoin wallet. Ironically, Korea is our largest market, so happy to be here.
Wonderful. Dylan.
Hey everybody, I'm Dylan, the CEO of Bitflow Finance. We are a decentralized exchange for Bitcoiners. We make it easy for Bitcoin liquidity to flow.
Tycho.
Yeah, and I'm Tycho, co-founder of Zest protocol, which is a Bitcoin DeFi protocol on Stacks, bringing Bitcoin yield to Stacks, and also co-founder of Stacking DAO, which is the liquid staking solution on Stacks, where you can mint staked STX and capture the stacking yield.
Awesome. Now, for those who may not be aware, Stacks went mainnet in 2021, and recently, just recently, began the second phase of the largest upgrade to come to the network, which is Nakamoto. It is not just a big deal for the Stacks ecosystem, it also is for the greater Bitcoin ecosystem as well, helping to reset the bar as to what is expected for Bitcoin layers. That said, would love to hear each of your opinions on the impact that Nakamoto has, but more importantly, what does a post-Nakamoto world look like as we start to see some of the features released in the coming days and weeks? Rena, let's start with you.
I think I'm most excited about Nakamoto as a wallet operator for what it unlocks for our dApp builders, especially these two with me on stage. Stacks has always believed in faster blocks and increasing transaction throughput akin to what Bitcoin should be, because Bitcoin always needed layers on top and an app economy to kind of drive the network to allow the security budget to increase to give value back to miners and such. With the Nakamoto upgrade, I think the most special factor is, one, it's going to be cheaper, faster, better. That's the entire goal of any L2, of faster transaction times at 5 seconds, kind of bringing that EVM-like transaction throughput experience back to Bitcoin, but then not compromising Bitcoin finality. With the Nakamoto upgrade, you have 100% of Bitcoin finality, and so what that means is you're basically like an optimistic roll-up to Bitcoin. From the wallet side, what makes this really cool is that we can now unlock as many transactions as needed with really cheap gas fees, so that more and more people can add Stacks transactions, roll them up back to Bitcoin, and then basically create this virtual economy where you've brought Bitcoin essentially on-chain.
Yeah, I think in one word, it's speed. We've been waiting on this for some time, and I think people are really, really excited for the fast blocks. I think it really highlights how Stacks is a very powerful scalability and programming solution. You have BTC the asset, and you have Bitcoin the network, and really excited for what it unlocks and how we can build better applications for users that when they're using a Bitcoin layer 2, they expect this Ethereum or Solana-like experience. Yeah.
Tycho.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, really, the Nakamoto upgrade is all about bringing BTC to Stacks, right? And about SBTC, which is the way that people can essentially deposit BTC from Bitcoin L1 directly onto the Stacks layer with no fees within one block, right? And that was always kind of the driving force behind Nakamoto, right? I worked at Nakamoto, or I worked on the Nakamoto upgrade before this. And yeah, really, the real sort of driving force was bring BTC to Stacks, and then, we were like, hey, we can actually speed up the chain as well, right? So Nakamoto really is speed plus bring BTC to the chain to, create really powerful apps, and specifically DeFi apps like Zest protocol.
And Trevor, you and I with Bitcoin Frontier Fund have had the pleasure of watching not just this ecosystem, but also the greater Bitcoin ecosystem evolve over the last 3 years. As one of the largest investors in the greater Bitcoin ecosystem with over 70 companies and protocols invested, what gets you excited about an upgrade like Nakamoto pre and now post as things come to evolve?
I mean, I think that the scale and magnitude of this upgrade is really sort of underestimated and underhyped right now. It's been something like an 18-month effort and it's, like this is like, we could debate about like different contexts, but like when Ethereum went from proof of work to proof of stake, like that was a massive, massive effort, right?
Yeah.
Nakamoto is an upgrade that's maybe not at that level of scale, but like that commendable. And so I'm super excited just to have seen how the core team has gone about doing this, and now the fact that it's ready to go live, and having like something that is, with Stacks, it's the #1 market cap Bitcoin L2 right now. It's also had a massive advantage in terms of time in the market. It's the OG L2. And so to combine those factors with an upgrade that adds, much faster blocks from a proven network that has already been in the market for since 2021, I think is very compelling, because it's not just about like, blockchains, like anyone can make faster transactions, but there's trade-offs. And to actually get to the point where you're getting the best out of all the things that you can do, it takes an effort like this. So it's not just about like the fact that it's super fast blocks, it's that it's gonna credibly deliver that at production level.
And zooming out for a minute, we just had a panel before us talking about additional layers within the Bitcoin ecosystem. And there was some discussion about decentralized bridged assets. We each have talked about SBTC and its specifics to Stacks. Zooming out and looking at the greater ecosystem, you've got SBTC, WBTC, TBTC, ZBTC, and about 14 other assets that are either coming or have been in market to date. BitGo just had some news around its reshifting of WBTC. And curious on your views as the bigger picture of the Bitcoin ecosystem, will decentralized bridge assets drive adoption? Will we start to see more people start to enter the ecosystem and start to want to do something with their Bitcoin as the promise has been out there to deliver? Rena.
I think it's definitely playing out. So you have like two sides of the market for how you're going to bring mass adoption. The first is maybe the centralized version by doing spot ETFs or things like that. So people are coming into Bitcoin who have never touched Bitcoin in the first place. But the more and more deeper you go, once you've gone through a centralized version of this, you're going to want to think about how much bridge security or centralization security you're willing to take. This is now playing out with WBTC, that people have major trust assumptions with using one singular custodian, homed in America, kind of not globally distributed, and other solutions on market ultimately might be better. SBTC is one of them, obviously issued by Stacks as a decentralized signer set of 40 validators. Large institutions, ecosystem players, actually some of our own entities are going to be validators too. And so what I love about this solution is that the ecosystem is putting its money where its mouth is, and we are all going in to support a decentralized asset in a way that is meaningful to the community, but doing it right by the people building.
Tycho.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the SBTC is really one of its kind, right? If we think about, deploying BTC for active use on chain, if you think about it like an adoption curve, right? Like a bell curve, then WBTC managed to capture like, about 1%, couple of percent, right? That sort of very early adopter area that thought the risk reward was worth it. Now we need to go to that kind of 12.5%, right? That sort of next little leg up of the adoption curve, and that can only happen with some kind of decentralized BTC asset, right? And SBTC is really one of a kind there because A, it doesn't rely on a centralized custodian, but most importantly, B, it doesn't charge a peg-in or a peg-out fee, right? Whereas a lot of the other BTC derivatives, there's a network that relies fully on that, so that network needs to take fees. Whereas Stacks is a smart contract network, and the validators on Stacks don't get their block reward if they don't process the peg-ins and peg-outs of SBTC. So what that means for users is that they have a free decentralized version of WBTC or of a BTC in a programmable environment, and that's really something that we haven't seen before in the space that's also minted within one block, right? So it's like cheaper, faster, better, on an order of magnitude than what's out there today, and that can really unlock that next, say 10% of the adoption curve, and then we can then look at how do you get to the top of the bell curve and really get the masses in.
Trevor, from your perspective as a venture capitalist, how does that shape your mindset when investing in companies with something like that unlocking new possibilities, new potential of an asset on a programmable network as well?
Yeah, I think SBTC is super exciting for DeFi specifically because I think that the way DeFi works, you need these expressive smart contracts that you can't really replicate on Bitcoin L1, and you need to do it in a way that's like modular with like that DeFi protocols can interact with each other, like building blocks, right? So I'm super excited about SBTC. I think that the bridges on Bitcoin right now to sidechains and L2s are very, very weak and a critical point of failure for most of people building in this space. And SBTC is sort of like the first entrant in a new wave of how to do bridges that are much more decentralized. And personally, it's probably one of the only ones that I will use with any kind of size myself. You know what I mean? Just because of the security guarantees that are unlocked by SBTC.
And Dylan, similarly, as a DEX and a DEX aggregator, how are you thinking about not just SBTC, but these other 14 plus decentralized bridge assets? How are you thinking about integrating? How are you thinking about their possibility for you as a DEX?
Yeah, it's almost like we need a stable swap or something, right? Yeah, I think we get reminded of the need for these scaling solutions when every time that the transaction fees on Bitcoin L1 go up. Yep. So it's great to see more and more people experimenting with the different token standards on L1, trying to build DEXs on L1. But the ability to have this additional programmability on Stacks, and we can be, I think, a very big liquidity hub for different flavors of Bitcoin. And having this security with the Nakamoto upgrade is very very important as well. The 100% Bitcoin finality, I think, gives people a lot of confidence. Yeah.
Tycho, when it comes to the world of staking, stacking, or now restacking and restaking as it's being tossed out there, you and the team at Stacking DAO were the very first to introduce liquid stacking. And the idea that no longer did you have to be locked up in a cycle, whether that be 2 weeks or greater or less, instead you could come in and out at any time. The Lido of Bitcoin, if you will. This was a pretty profound moment in Bitcoin's ecosystem as the next era of seeing yield around potential BTC. We just had Babylon launch about a week ago, their protocol, and introduced another era of staking with this restaking. What are your thoughts on what comes after? What comes next when you think of what you and the team have been able to do at Stacking DAO with liquid stacking, and now with what Babylon and others are doing around restaking?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that the Stacking DAO analogy is very, very interesting, right? When we launched Stacking DAO and liquid staked STX for a little while, we were the largest dApp on any Bitcoin L2 in terms of TVL. Now, of course, Bitcoin TVL is being unlocked, so it goes much quicker, right, than just with STX. But yeah, to your point, right? What's the future? What's coming next? And I think with the launch of Babylon and the launch of the introduction of BTC staking, we'll probably see a lot of new derived BTC assets that are yielding, right? So yielding BTCs that are being traded around. Stacks doesn't have one yet. I don't think it will be for very long. So watch out for some exciting announcements there. But yeah, we'll see a proliferation of all kinds of different BTC assets, and then there'll be stable swaps and DEXs that will have to kind of aggregate that and yeah, bring that liquidity again together. But yeah, all of these will have different trust assumptions, right? We believe that on Stacks you can build the most secure one of these derived yielding BTC assets. But yeah, it will be up to the market to decide.
And everybody wants more Bitcoin yield on their Bitcoin holdings as well. So if Stacks ends up being this liquidity hub for different flavors of Bitcoin, earning this organic yield between the different flavors, I think it's delivering on the promise of what people want: Bitcoin yield on their Bitcoin holdings.
Trevor, as a VC, again, you've invested in over 70 different projects with Bitcoin Frontier Fund.
80 now.
80, thank you for the correction. So 80.
I just updated on Twitter.
Maybe we'll get one more today, so we'll make it 81. That said, when thinking about the Bitcoin ecosystem, what are you excited about that's coming next? We've seen a ton of development in the last 8 months. We've got a shotgun of the next 4 months ahead of us, but looking to 2025, what are you excited about investing in or seeing those be built as a VC?
Yeah, I think we're at an interesting time in the market where, at least L1 specifically, it's a bit of a plateau. So, we have Runes marketplaces, we have Ordinals marketplaces, and so I actually am genuinely looking at how Nakamoto is going to change things, and also SBTC, and I hope that there will also be a fast follow for wrapping Runes and Ordinals in a way that's compatible with SIP10 and SIP9 standards. And then I think, OpCat is very interesting as well. That's probably going to take a little bit longer. But when OpCat comes out, there's going to be a lot of new functionality that's unlocked on L1 that I think is going to shake things up quite a bit. So I would say, what I'm really looking for, of course, is DeFi, on L2s, and then I would say I'm looking at what are some esoteric related things that very smart developers can connect to market use cases when it comes to Bitcoin script and L1.
Rena, as one of the leading wallets in the Bitcoin ecosystem, that being Leather wallet for those who may not be familiar, what has evolved with the wallet experience? Wallets in the past have been clunky when it comes to user experience and interfaces. You and the Leather team have made waves in that. Talk to us a little bit about what's today and what's to come when it comes to the evolution of a wallet when applied to the Bitcoin ecosystem.
So I don't actually consider Leather a wallet. I almost feel like we're your Bitcoin dApp for everything. We're your home for Bitcoin for whether you want yields and you're coming to one of these two protocols, or whether you want to do something creative with your Bitcoin and mint and ordinal. I really think we took the consumer social aspect of UI and UX and actually brought that directly into the wallet experience. So it's not just a wallet where you buy, hold, sell, whatever, but it's really your home for Bitcoin. So what I think that our team has done a tremendous job is redesigning the UI that it feels like a Twitter, it feels like an Instagram, it feels like an app that you just want to open every day and look at your Bitcoin, use your L2 assets, whatever it may be. What I'm pretty also excited about is some of the consumer social dApps that we've put into the Leather experience. One is actually near and dear to our hearts. Many people know of ENS domains, but the original Bitcoin naming space is .btc domains, launched on Stacks. And what we did in Leather is bring that front and center so that people have their identity, their social graph, their social profile integrated into their wallet, so that as they meet and connect with folks, you kind of have that rich on-chain history.
That said, when we look at BNS V2, if I'm correct, recently it was launched. .locker also came to life. Talk to us a little bit about how that new on-chain identity integrates with the wallet and why it's so important when it comes to Bitcoin as opposed to what we saw with ENS on the Ethereum side.
So .locker is a really cool TLD. It is the first TLD that actually maps to Web 2 and Web 3. We are ICANN approved, so if you buy Rena.locker, I can create a website on Rena.locker, email server, whatever I need, but it also doubles as my Bitcoin and Stacks wallet too. So you have a full syncing conversion mechanism all in one. So it's in the world of Web3, your car can take you to a lot of different places, but sometimes you need a bike to get to the last mile, and that's really what .locker is all about. What's super cool is that when you think about creating a website or something that you want lasting power, you need both something that works in the world that we operate today with 8 billion people, but you also need something that operates in the world of decentralization. And that's really why the Web3 identity is super important to have. It connects the dots.
Dylan, as one of the leading DEXs in the Stacks ecosystem, you've had the chance to watch and build in the DeFi world, or the BitFi, Bitcoin DeFi space for some time. We just had, again, a panel that was talking a little bit about what's happening in Solana, the EVM ecosystem, and others. What gets you excited about the future of BitFi, leading that on the DEX side right now?
I think the biggest contribution that we're going to make in the Bitcoin space is giving people more of a reason to transact with it. and increasing the chance of Bitcoin being sustainable long term when it has to rely on the transaction fees alone. And for us, that means making it very, very easy to trade your Bitcoin for a stable coin or for other meme coins, bringing the Runes community and the Stacks community closer together so that you can trade for those assets on chain. I think Bitcoin is our best chance to have separation of money and state, and we need to build these DeFi protocols around it.
Last question for everybody. We are here again in Seoul, the heart of Web3 and crypto, one of the biggest markets for Stacks, as Rena had mentioned previously, and we're here at BTCON and KBW. A lot of conversation of what's happening now and a little bit about what's happening to come. We've got over 80 plus different layers that have come to market in the last 5 or 6, maybe 7 months. We have seen the Bitcoin ecosystem 7x since the end of the year and continue to grow. That said, in your opinions, in closing today, what's missing? What is the opportunity for those looking to build and looking to make their way and their mark in the greater Bitcoin ecosystem and Stacks as a whole? Trevor, I see you biting at the chomp to answer this. I'm going to start with you.
Well, it's a very I think, hard question. And the first thing that came to mind initially was Korean barbecue, but then that's just because I'm getting hungry. No, I think the development ecosystem is still relatively small, in Bitcoin, and I think that's a positive and a negative. It's very positive because that means if you're here now, you have an opportunity to be a leader, to stand out and to grow with the ecosystem. But it also means that because the ecosystem, a lot of these components work together, it means that it's going to take longer to really get to that mass adoption, because improving like the UX of Web3 is not just about like your app, it's about every other app that your app also interacts with. The whole ecosystem, surface area touches different parts of it, and so it takes a while to really get this technology good. And so I want more builders in the space, and if you're out there thinking about it, is your first time learning about what's happening on Bitcoin, you should definitely continue to learn and get more involved.
And talk to Trevor at BFF, be number 81 as well.
Absolutely, yeah, number 81.
Tycho.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting to see what's kind of happening now, right? Also at this conference, we see a lot of ideas that are not necessarily new, but they're being applied to Bitcoin, right? Yes. And in some ways, we're also sort of not necessarily unique in that. Like we sort of done something similar, but then leveraging stack security, right, to create a different kind of product experience. But if I were a new founder, like coming completely new into the ecosystem, right, want to build something on Bitcoin, I would look very carefully at what are the common problems, right, that all of these founders are facing, and what is the infrastructure that's missing. And then you'll probably see that there's a lot of common problems. There's a lot of things people are throwing money at to kind of resolve, right? Whether it's indexing of blockchain data and stuff like that. That's very commonplace and everywhere else. But just that infrastructure doesn't exist yet because people haven't built apps for the masses yet on Bitcoin. That's kind of what I would focus on, or what I would encourage people to focus on, because it will solve a lot of our problems for sure.
Dylan.
Yeah, I think this is the most exciting time to be building on Bitcoin. There's nothing else I'd rather be working on. I do think we, like Tycho mentioned, we get the benefit of seeing what's worked well on Ethereum, but we get to apply the best of those models with the premier digital asset.
Rena.
I think this is the time to use the creativity of Bitcoin. So we've now come to the point that we've separated out BTC, the asset, and Bitcoin, the rails, and the block space. We all agree that Bitcoin was the king of all assets, and now we can creatively deploy it, whether it's on-chain social or consumer gaming apps, and using SBTC or another asset to power communities.
Wonderful. Trevor, Tycho, Dylan, Rena, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and insights around not just the Stacks, but the greater Bitcoin ecosystem and what's to come in the post-Nakamoto world. Hopefully everyone got something more to take away today and opportunities. Feel free to talk to all of us after today's call.